right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN4. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan. Very serious, very businesslike today. That is the plan. That is the approach. That is how we are going to lead into the game tonight.
I would have taken a different approach if you were going to be total. I would have just had a team dinner somewhere last night. Show up early, get together, have a few laughs, just relax. I don't know. Just change the routine up a little bit. What about you, Noodles? What would your expectations be?
Here's the thing. I think they have a team dinner every night in the playoffs. Like, that's the one thing. Oh, I'm sure on the road, and talking to teams that are on the road, they have – it's not the guys, a group of guys goes to get together and, hey, we're going to go to this Italian restaurant. We're going to choose a steakhouse. My understanding nowadays, all the meals are provided, and it's kind of like you create a little compound at wherever you're staying, regardless of the city. That's and then you guys go and game and they play cards and do all of that. I don't think it's a lot of like, hey, we're going to head out in the town type of thing. They might set up a dinner at a restaurant, but my understanding it's pretty under wraps in tight.
I'd like to see that, though. I'd like to see that because, I think, I'm guessing, you would know better than I would. I know the Sens were at a pretty famous establishment before Game 1, but they had all left very early. Those were the details I was given. Look at me going TMZ.
Yeah,
it was
really?
Very serious, like just a good dinner, good mood, and by like 9 o'clock they were out. Like there wasn't any funny business of, we'll have a couple cocktails after. We'll see you back at the hotel. Like everyone was, let's do this. So, I'm always curious about the approach Game 1 compared to a Game 6. Like it's a very different vibe as the series goes on. And, that's from a fan perspective. I would think the players as well. And, you hear the Leafs say, and this is a cliche that gets thrown around a lot, the fourth one is the most difficult one to win.
Yeah. It is.
Well, it is. But the reason for that is because internally it changes the way you approach it. The way you're thinking of it, you have something now you're supposed to do. Now you have something you have to accomplish that is different from the first 3 games. And that is really what sticks out for the Maple Leafs tonight in terms of my look ahead. Ottawa is going to play their game. We'll see. We mentioned it yesterday. There's no guarantees they have this great game or all marks exceptional. They may struggle tonight. Maybe they're nervous in front of their home crowd. Who knows? But it does feel like the Maple Leaf analysis is simply between the ears and internal analysis in terms of how they feel and how they're going to approach it tonight.
Yeah, they have to play hard. Like,
well,
that's
no
the
kidding.
one thing.
Like that should go without saying.
Yeah.
But it's really more than that. Like it's not just playing hard. It's like you got to, even with the core 4 players that we continue to talk about, and let's be clear, if they lose tonight, it's going to be all about the core 4. Unless something crazy happens with Stolarz, it's going to be all about them. But it's gotten to a point now where you can't just have a good individual game. You got to have a good individual game and win. Like you have to do both.
No kidding, guys. Let's take a look at, and I do agree with Craig Berube's comments. Okay, it is about the team. Steven Lorentz has got to get pucks in. He's got to get pucks out.
Right.
Scotty Lawton, same thing. He's got to be good on the penalty kill. He's got to be good on the forecheck. But there was 2 closeout games last night. Okay, do you want to know who got on the scoreboard? I'm sure everybody saw the highlights this morning.
Yep.
Tom Wilson, Alex Ovechkin, Reinhart, Verhaeghe, Barkov. Those were the guys that got the job done last night. It was like that. That's a part of their team's success, having those guys step up and score those goals. The reason the Maple Leafs won the division, the reason they win in overtime, the reason they win a lot of regular season games is because the same guys that we are talking about usually get the job done. That's what separates their team. That's why their team had a quality season. So it's not like we're stepping outside of our boundaries of expectations to say you're the guys that probably need to get it done.
It's unfair to ask the other guys. You can't ask a guy on the 4th line to play like Austin Matthews is supposed to.
Well, obviously, But what you
to.
can't have, Hayes, is you can't have everybody say, well, these guys better do it, and we don't really care because it'll just be on them. And everybody's got to do their thing, but everybody's got different responsibilities. Those players we are mentioning are put in different positions and are set up to have success offensively. And they just they just can't find a way to execute. And if they don't find a way to execute tonight and they don't get this one, then they're really going to be squeezing their stick in Saturday night. So
absolutely,
pick your poison.
And you consider what happened, in the rest of the Eastern Series. You referenced two of them. The other one would be Carolina the night before. Every other series finished in 5, which is crazy. Like, really wild when you think about it, that they all finished in 5.
I thought the Leafs were going to have 10 days off.
It felt like that. The Leafs were the only one that was up 3-0. Every other series was 2-1.
I'm like, these guys might literally be able to fly home for a couple days or something because they are going to have 10 days
now
off.
They're grinding it out where everyone else has got their feet up.
Now a team's waiting on them.
Yeah.
Well, and we also saw that, I thought that was going to be a bloodbath. It was hard fought
Florida
5
too
games,
good, man.
That Florida
too
Panther
good.
team, they're going to be looking through the glass like a high school bully in the classroom to see who wants to come out for recess. That's how they're viewing the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that. I will say that. Like they, when you look at it, I don't know. Myself, I should just point to myself. Like I thought Tampa was going to win that series. How can we sleep on that Florida Panther team? Like there's a lot of people that slept on them. I don't know where you guys were in that series, but there were a lot of people that picked because Tampa was on a heater down the stretch, played very, very well. Florida narrative, they've been banged up, not sure what's going to happen with Tkachuk, Ekblad, going to have to, all they do is they were ready to play, and they played, and they were fantastic. They deserve all the flowers.
They do. They
flowers.
deserve a ton of accolades, man, because they've been to 2 straight Cup finals, which was another element. I think another part of the conversation was like, are they just going to run out of gas? Like, how do you keep showing up and keep playing with emotion and
They got the recipe, Hayes.
elevating? Yeah, they do. And let's also clarify. I know we talked about this earlier in the week, but the guy in the net helps a lot. Like Bobrovsky is a freak of nature come playoff time, and he is now what Vasilevsky was 3 years ago. Like Vasilevsky was that. It's like you're not beating that guy. You are not beating him 4 times, or it felt that way. And that's what Bob has effectively done the last couple of years, and it included what he just did through 5 games. They're a great team. Like top to bottom, they are a great team. They've got depth, they've got scoring, they've got checking, they bully teams, they got nasty players. And it's not like everyone's nasty. Like Barkov and Reinhart and Verhaeghe and Rodriguez, those guys aren't, scrumming it up and looking to drop the gloves. Seth Jones isn't like this big, tough guy. Gustav Forsling he plays hard. He's not. It's not Scott Stevens.
No.
They've just got the ingredient. They've got every type of ingredient, and it mixes properly to the point where they're going. This should be an eye-opening experience to the point where whoever they play, Leafs, Ottawa, then Carolina, Washington, then whoever, they should be the favorite until they're knocked out. That should be the case. Whoever they play the rest of the way, Florida should be the favorite in that series.
Think about how calm they were heading into the playoffs.
Out.
They were reeling, and Paul Maurice was like, yeah, you know what? We're just like, he was making up some mumbo jumbo of like, we're kind of close. We're just trying. They just knew that they were going to get bodies back, the right bodies, and that they were just going to play the right way. And it was just a non-negotiable thing. And it's having confidence within each other where it's like you bring in Brad Marchand, it's like he knows the deal. He knows how to play.
Yeah.
He knows what's going to go. Wow. And that Matthew Tkachuk had to take one last dig on his way out of that rink last night. And they asked him about the rivalry. And he was like, it's not really a rivalry anymore. I was like, you son of a gun.
Yeah.
You had to you had to drop that one before you put your suit on. It's not a rivalry anymore.
He was great. I thought the best player on the ice was Marchand. Like he looks
good.
He looks invigorated. Like he looks like, hey, I've got a chance to win another cup here, type of thing. Like he was flying, and it had taken him a while to settle in there. And if you watched him this year, he didn't have that jump. He didn't have that step. He coming off of the surgeries last year, he just didn't look. And I guess plus he's 36 years old. He's not 26 anymore. But, man, he was flying last night. Like, he could smell it. And
comes down to what he's asked of, right, Noodles? Like, he's kind of – it's like the Phil Kessel thing. Like, in Boston, you're the captain, you're the man, you talk every day, people in your face, you've got a contract hanging over you. You better get Pasternak going. If you don't, what's your problem? Yeah. He goes down to Florida. The guy's on the third line. He's just, there's one reporter around. No one's asking him anything. He's just like, I get to show up in flip-flops and a T-shirt and play hockey again. It's got to be incredibly.
Dude, do you know how many guys go
reinvigorating.
down there and say to themselves, "Why the hell have I not been doing this for 6 or 7 years earlier than I have been?"
I didn't have the choice in my career, but I did sign with them as a free agent. Grew my hair long, bought a Cadillac, bought a place there. I thought I was retiring there. Like that was you get
You
this.
took it too far, probably. They're like, dude, you still gotta like be a professional.
You were living like
play.
you were retired.
Still got to play, but no.
Yeah.
I mean, my circumstances were different. We had the lockout, then Louis got into the contract squabble with Keenan, and then I got the gate after that. But but ultimately, like you're right, the attitude, you're getting down there. It's just we live in it. We live in the center of the universe when it comes to hockey, right? Us in Montreal, like that. That's just there's a big populations, passionate fan base. I get that, but something's different when I remember playing for the Panthers. You leave the rink and I can go sit on the beach and I can go read a book by my pool, whatever. Like it's just different. It's a different attitude. And now that the fact that they've brought amazing players. They've set up a great program there. I've had conversations with Matthew Tkachuk talking about the practice rink now is in the Fort Lauderdale area. Like guys live around there. Like the rink is way off. And I've always said they built the rink in the wrong place. It's a ways kind of like what happened in Arizona. But man, oh man, they've got an unbelievable program there. It's taken a while to arrive to that. And obviously if you win, people will want to be there. But that's the case. They've built a program there, and it's a credit to Bill Zito and Greg
That's
Campbell
exactly
and a lot of
it.
that.
It's the number one program in the league right now, and prior to it was Tampa. Like that's just the truth.
Yeah,
5 years
you're
in a
right.
row, it's been Tampa and Florida in the Cup final.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
you got to give them their flowers. And like Tampa's had success for a long time. They won a Cup in 2004. Florida though went 15, 16, 17 years where they just were kind of a non-factor. Like didn't really make the playoffs. But you had to get the right people in there to implement the right players who can marry the two. Where, yes, the off-the-ice stuff is very luxurious and great, but when they get to the rink, they realize you might as well be in Saskatoon. Like, I'm going to play,
and guys,
I'm going to
sometimes
fight,
I feel like
hit.
I might be blowing this out of proportion, but bringing in Matthew Tkachuk is such a massive game changer just by the way everybody thinks, walks, talks, wins.
Attitude.
I'm telling you, like bringing in that guy, like just look at the team before that. I think they won the President's Trophy, and they might have got bounced in the first round or second round. I don't know what happened, but it didn't go well, and they made that switch. You just bring in a guy like that, it's massive.
You're 100% right. Think about it. Like Jonathan Huberdeau, when he got traded, had 115 points. That was a very comfortable setting.
He was
down
top
there.
5 in Hart voting.
He was that team was fantastic, but you could tell, like you just said, it was something's different. Matthew Tkachuk brings an attitude. He's got an attitude, and it's infectious because he's a big personality. Thing is he's not a mouthpiece and doesn't back it up. He's a hell of a player. Now he's different than his brother. They're very uniquely different, like the way that they play. But they both play for keeps, and that's the difference. Where you've got a Matthew Tkachuk who drags people into a war. Like he did it in Calgary. They had that Zach Kassian chasing him around, and he drags people into the fight.
Yep.
And the year before where they didn't win, remember he was playing, but he had like a broken sternum or something that came out after.
Into the
like
Cup final against Vegas. Yeah.
Like he had nothing left. He was pounded into dust. But it's an interesting point. That trade was your TSN turning point of them turning the corner to becoming. What Hayes was talking about, a dynasty or whatever.
Yeah, well, that's what they're. I mean, listen, they probably got to knock in one more Stanley Cup final or a cup.
Sure.
Definitely a cup. I mean, you can't walk away with only one and be in dynasty mode. But that's what's waiting. That's what's waiting for either the Leafs and the Sens, and that Matthew Tkachuk role, like you said, drags them into the fight. That's always a question with the Maple Leafs. Like, who will be responsible for dragging them into the fight tonight? Because they don't have guys that are wired that way, or if they do, they're just not capable of playing the way that he plays. Max Domi, I'm sure, would love to drag them into the fight. Max can't do it. Yeah. He can't play at the same level.
Well, there's two elements to being dragged into the fight, Hayes. And if you think you're going to see Mitch Marner grab somebody and start ragdolling him around out of a scrum, that's not going to happen. But the other element that Matthew Tkachuk brings is He scores. He scores in overtime. He scores on the power play. He takes 2 months off, and the first game back, he rips home 2 goals. Like, part of his being dragged into a fight is he gets the job done and performs.
Yeah, he's a point producer.
Yeah, he gets it done when it counts. And it's not just about punching guys in the face and making comments and getting under the skin of other players. He also performs at a very high level. He's a very good player. Under pressure, makes plays, makes skill plays on the power play. Mm-hmm. So that's a part of him being involved in the fight. He gets the job done.
That's it. And, I don't think you can overstate the magnitude of this game for certain players. And we all know who they are. Like, we don't have to continuously name them. But it's as big as it gets in terms of you finally proving you have that dog in you. Like, you are going to show up and say, look out. Because we've been yelling and screaming about that for a long time. A long time. And a lot of times it's after the series you look back and say, now that I think about it, man, that just never happened. Like, there was never a wave of attack. There was never an attitude change where all of a sudden it just got crazier and crazier and crazier, and you were a bull in a china shop. Again, with different forms of that. That doesn't mean punch in the face, doesn't mean throwing massive open ice hits. It means you have the ability to take over the game. We talk about the guys in Edmonton all the time. McDavid's not like Tkachuk. Draisaitl's not like Tkachuk. Like, that's not how they operate. They're not like Tom Wilson. But those guys put their stamp on games. And that's what has to happen tonight. It's the biggest game of their career. It's the biggest game of the core 4 era in terms of whatever is going to happen in the future, because you gotta salvage this opportunity. And they're saying the right things and the cliches are out, but Florida's waiting for you, and that's not going to be easy. That's going to be incredibly difficult, and you're going to need everything you can get and everything you have to beat them. And if you push it to Saturday night, all bets are off. And as for tonight, in terms of lineup changes, no one knew was going in, but Berube is putting Max Pacioretty with Tavares and Nylander. And I am very surprised. I'll just be blunt. I'm very surprised.
So am I. I didn't think he was moving around too well in the last game. No.
He was not. Like, you saw it on the screen. I saw it in person. He has a difficult time motoring around the ice. He's not young anymore. He's had a lot of really gruesome injuries that he's had to overcome. Pacioretty has had a difficult time getting in on the forecheck. Sure, he'll throw some hits, but they're a half second late. Well, so you get registered for the hit, but the puck's gone. And this has been something that Berube has been trying to deal with all year. I told you guys. I mean, you guys saw it the other night. He went through Holmberg, into McMahon, into Domi, into Yarncroke on that line. This is the 5th player playing with Tavares and Nylander in 2 periods. Well, 2.5 periods.
My only reaction to that is I just don't think Holmberg's a top 6, period. Like, I've never have. He's not.
It's amazing. Let me just interrupt you guys. It's amazing.
Who is?
Amazing when guys stay there when the other 2 produce.
But they need somebody to win a physical battle to get them the puck. Tavares isn't a burner, and Nylander doesn't want, he's just not a physical guy. He had 18 hits all year. He's not. He hit the pathway for William Nylander is to get the puck, be strong on it. I'm not saying he's not incredibly strong on the puck, and he lifts sticks, and he's really sneaky, and he wants to stretch the play. He's an elite player when it comes to going that way. But winning those 50-50 battles, that's not his forte. His forte is get me the puck, and I'll do something with it. I think what Chief is thinking is have a heavier body to try and win those 50-50 battles and get those guys the puck. And again, you make great points. Getting there is very important. But I look at David Perron, he's not a burner. I look at Claude Giroux, he's not a burner. But they're older, cagey veterans who have, in this series, at different points, won battles when it mattered. And maybe that's the look that they're looking for. That's just my initial reaction.
I would assume so. I will say I think this is an indictment on the play of Bobby McMahon, first and foremost.
Yeah.
Because I think he had an incredible opportunity to supplant himself there, be there, stay there, and be a top 6 guy. And it doesn't seem like that's an option anymore.
There's a loss of trust there, clearly.
Yeah, clearly. And honestly, I don't blame Berube for that because he really hasn't done much. There hasn't been much Bobby McMahon activity really in quite some time. He did score 20 goals. He had a 20-goal season. But it is something that really sticks off the page when you and I don't know if it's a desperation play. I don't know if it's a relying on a veteran play, from Berube. Like, I got to put someone who's been there and done that.
Right.
And I need these other two guys to, possibly carry Pacioretty in a way, and that should be expected. I mean, Willie's got to have a way better night, man. Like, Nylander's game the other night was just nowhere close to acceptable. He's got to be way better.
He will. I think there's guys that you get challenged.
I
but
think they will.
The thing is, again, it comes back to you've got to fight through what's there. Ottawa 5-on-5 is not going to give you a lot. So you're going to have to create, something out of nothing. You're going to have to get to middle ice. You're going to have to make things difficult. Like now you're at game 6 where, both teams are starting. They know what to expect, what Ottawa's going to throw at Toronto, vice versa. What you need is the separator or separator play. Early on, we saw that, Matthews threads the needle to Marner for a breakaway. There's a goal, a little play here or there. But it might come back to just either goaltending, like you always talk about, Hayes, and secondly, special teams. Special teams have caught up. Like that's early on it was the Leafs just destroying Ottawa on special teams.
Yeah,
but now if you look at the stats going into it, it's darn near even. The Leafs have a slight edge on the power play and penalty kill because they had such a great start. But it's darn near even as far as percentages. Shots on goal are almost the exact same. You look at it, goals against and goals for are almost the exact same. Like it's really close. So as you guys are talking about, what are the separators? It's a special play. It's a special player. It's a goaltender. It's something. That's what, who's going to be the separator tonight? That's the way I look at it.
Well, we'll see. And I mean, we all know who it should be, but it's on them to go and do it. It's that simple. I mean, their best players have got to be the best players on the ice tonight. There's no other way to sugarcoat it. There's no other way to explain it. There's no excuse for anything but the best effort you've ever seen out of these guys in the playoffs tonight. Wendel Clark will join us this hour. We'll get Wendell's thoughts on the game tonight. What does he expect to see out of the Maple Leafs? And Wendell did play in the Battle of Ontario last year in the league. He was there in 2000. I think he jumped on the ice first after Steve Thomas scored that OT winner. See Wendell out there, which is great. So he's got some Battle of Ontario experience himself. So we'll catch up with Wendell, and we're moving and chugging towards Game 6 tonight. We got other games in the Stanley Cup playoffs, the NBA playoffs. There's crazy stuff coming out of the Lakers, man.
Dude, what
crazy stuff?
Nico Fergie Jr. He took a turn in the right direction today, man.
Well, I can neither confirm or deny that.
Is smoking his best cigar. Best bottle of red.
And you know what comment made him crack open the nicest bottle of wine he has? When J.J. Redick came out and said, we have to get in better shape. We have some players that are fit and some players that are not fit. And it was like Nico probably, that was Brazzers for him. He loved it.
It's
very,
you're right,
fun
though.
comment for him.
100%. But all they have to do is get the guy in the gym, and you've got an unbelievable player for 10 years.
Try it, though. Like Dallas tried
fair.
it. That's the thing.
That's
like
fair.
Nico Harris, you don't think we were trying to get this guy to show up at the gym? And everyone knows who Reddick's talking about. He's going to have to come out tomorrow.
It's not LeBron.
Of course not. He's going to come out. I guarantee you, I wouldn't be shocked if he revisits that. Goes, just to clarify, I want to point out, I wasn't talking about Luka. I wasn't talking. He may pull the Sheldon Keefe circle back.
Might have to.
Dude, if I'm Palinka, that's his name, the GM there, isn't it? I would say you are not leaving LeBron's side from now until the start of next season.
Yeah. Get in the gym and work out, man.
Yeah, because LeBron will be in there next week at 41 years old.
Yes, he will. All right, so we'll get into that and how people are reacting to the Minnesota Timberwolves knocking out the Lakers in 5 games. More of that still to come. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Cameron keeps getting further and further away from you, dude. What is going on in studio there? You're doing the panel tonight.
I just looked up and I noticed that I'm really far away. Before I was too close. Now I'm too far away.
Now we need something a little bit more centered. It looks like I'm looking through the reverse.
Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started.
Anyway,
it's not.
It's all good. It's all
We're having
good.
technical difficulties.
Some technical difficulties. All right, Wendell Clark will join us here in a moment. You guys see the Hart nominees were announced today. Leon Draisaitl, Connor Hellebuck, Nikita Kucherov. Those are your three up for the Hart.
You know what I found weird is usually aren't the Ted Lindsay and the Hart, don't they usually like mirror each other more?
Yes, definitely. And the Lindsay was Kucherov,
McCarr,
McKinnon, and McCarr.
Yeah. I mean, but Ted Lindsay is voted by the players.
Right.
The media vote for the Hart. Like I think I told you, I was in that process, and those three, I think, were my top three. I'll have to double check, and I'll double check right now as we're chatting.
That's what I figured. I thought, McKinnon was in the mix at times, and a couple of other players clearly. But I think, you bring up a good point. Generally, it is closer than this. There might be one player that's in or one player that's out.
Hayes, I think usually like the guy that won the Ted Lindsay, it was almost, I think for a bunch of years, it was almost like a slam dunk that they were going to win the Hart Trophy, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, a lot of connection there for sure. And if that's the case, I guess it has to be Nikita Kucherov because he's the only one nominated for both, which is a real testament to clearly how he plays, but also how the rest of the league looks at him as a player.
It's funny you say it because we're going to talk about Tampa. Jonas is on today, correct? So I owe Jonas an apology because Vasilevsky didn't play well. But here I was going to bring up a stat for you. Nikita Kucherov has 0 goals in his last 15 playoff games.
Crazy, man.
And he didn't play very well in this series. He had that one game. It was game 3 where he had some assists or whatever, but he was looking pissy. His body language wasn't good. And he flat out wasn't getting it done. Like there was numerous tweets every Tampa Bay game where somebody would say, "What the hell is Kucherov doing?" Which is bizarre.
Very rare, but just quickly, like I got somebody sent it to me that Nikita Kucherov has failed to score a playoff goal in all 3 of his Art Ross Trophy winning seasons as well.
Wow.
And then has gone 15 games without a playoff goal. So
that's
pretty interesting.
Staggering, man.
Well, from a guy who won the Art Ross, is up for the Hart, but it comes back to regardless of all the conversations we have, you don't win if your top players aren't contributing. That's the bottom line. Vasilevsky didn't contribute to a win in this series. Kucherov didn't win, and now you're hearing rumblings like, well, maybe John Cooper. I'm like, I don't know if that's coaching, man. Like, I think that's just you're coming up against a team like that's Winnipeg Jets in the 80s playing the Oilers. Like, that's the way I look at it. Is the Winnipeg Jets are just on the wrong side of playing a damn good team as well.
Well, you take a couple
had your
ticks
wins.
off. Yeah, you got your wins. You went to the Cup final 3 times, and then you take 2 ticks off McDonough, maybe a tick and a half off of Hedman.
Yeah.
Braden Point's got mileage on him. Kucherov, like he's still an unbelievable player, but there's a tick off him. He didn't get it done performance-wise. And if you just put all of them together. And I know they tried to kind of bring Gord back, and there's some mileage. Well, I don't know.
Strand was hurt. Yeah, I mean,
you got a lot of the same characters, and there's been a lot of good players that have left, but you just try to recreate that magic. I don't know. Now's the time. If they were going to reshape that and do something different, it might be now. You know what I mean? Instead, you might have if you want to be the Pittsburgh Penguins in 3 years, go ahead. But now would be your performance is proof. Like they're not winning series right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, but they're going up against the team that won the Cup. That's the thing. It's not that like they could go deeper into the playoffs if it's. I see what you're saying, but you did already tick off. You moved on Stamkos. Maybe you move on one other player from the core. You know what I mean? But I don't think you move because a lot of those guys are still like Cirelli's late 20s. Nick Paul is there. Like they still have young, good players. And
you got to try to reshape it a little bit, Jamie, because guess what? You might play in the first round next year. It might be the Florida Panthers.
Well, exactly.
Same team again. Yeah, you're right.
3 years ago when they got knocked out, it was the Leafs. They've lost 3 years in a row. All right, we got the Battle of Ontario Game 6 tonight. We got a guy on the line that has played in the Battle of Ontario, a guy who's down at Legends Row. He was in the rink the other night. It was great to see him kicking around, and here he is, one of our favorites, Wendel Clark, joining us here on Overdrive. How you doing, Wendell?
Hi, guys. Doing good.
So, what are we expecting tonight?
Well, I think it's fun time. This is we've turned it into a series, so Ottawa's come and pushed hard. They don't want to lose, and so It's up to us to go and grab it. And it's actually they won't know it. They're in the middle of the battle, but this is a good test. When you get through, they've had a test, and that's a good sign for the next rounds. We just have to prove and get through it.
Yeah. Well, exactly. They got to get over this hill, and everyone talks about elevating your game in the playoffs, and you were clearly a guy that was famous for that, Wendell. I'm curious, how you did that. How did you recognize A, I have to elevate, and B, this is how I'm going to go about elevating my game?
I don't know. I think everybody does it depending. Everybody's different in their mindsets. But I probably tried to simplify everything. All I can do is go out there and throw everything I can at it, and if it's good enough, great. And if it's not good enough, there's nothing more I can throw at it. That's pretty much how we, in simple terms, do it. I always love playoffs because as I tell people, there's no better job in the world as a left winger playing in the NHL in the playoffs. I get to work 18 minutes every 48 hours.
I like that. That's a good approach.
Dougie had a tougher job. He worked 30.
Right, exactly.
So, Wendell, playoff hockey is so different from the regular season. Is there something, when you look at it, for example, a skill player, the playoffs, the level gets to another, height of intensity. And people always say you got to step out of your comfort zone, but you still have to, bring that skill play. Did you find when you played with skilled players, did they go looking for something different, or is it just maximizing what you have?
I think you got to maximize with what you got, and really in a series, you're playing against the same checking guys every night that are going to be pretty good. There are both teams that are in the playoffs, and every team takes away the middle. If you take away the middle in your own end, they don't score. If you can't get to the middle, you can't score on the other end. And the biggest thing to score goals is you got to sometimes less fancy and just throw it on net. You look at all the game-winning goals of them bounces and seeing eye stuff from long shots, and really the farther you go in the playoffs, the more simple the game gets, and that's really, I think we were doing that well in the first period, the last game, and then by the second period, I think at power play we were throwing it around the outside a little too much and not just get the puck on net. It's simple, and that's, you watch all the teams that have won it, they get simpler. Come playoff time, because you never know what that goal, what bounce causes the goal, because both teams are playing well.
Clarky, I mean, you loved running guys over. I think we play some of your hits behind the net over and once a month it pops up. Like, regardless of your skill level, don't you think like some kind of massive hit in the first period can be a tone setter? I know they're not known as being the most physical team, but any type of like big body check just to get everybody cooking and on the same page is a massive thing.
No, I think it's an energy. Nyes has the body that can do that, and maybe even any of the other guys that don't normally do it. It really gets the team going. The Washington game, I think you've seen the big guy in Washington, the start of the game, made Montreal look. They were throwing the puck away because he was finishing his checks. And that really, and it gets your team going, and you never know what happens when people start throwing the puck away in times they don't want to. But physical play is playoff hockey. That's why it's up the middle or finishing on the boards, and there's always a little extra hit, or you sit on the guy 10 seconds longer because you know it's not a penalty.
Right, that's the beauty of it, right? The kind of the gamesmanship with the refs, where that is one thing. I guess you never really know, though, how quick the whistle's going to come out sometimes. I mean, when they changed the ref, back when you were playing, I guess, was there still, I think there was only one ref out there back then. One ref.
You preferred it because you actually, and the guys will know, you look at the piece of paper and you see the name of the ref, and you knew the type of game it was going to be just by that personality of that ref, because and every ref had his way of doing it. Now you're in the two ref system. It's a little different on either end of the ice, maybe some nights, but they try to be the same. But really, come playoff time, they're going to let the players settle it, as long as it's pretty close to within the rules. But it's some hard hockey, as the first round always is. You look at all the series of some of the hits and some of the antics and things, and that's the fun stuff, and it kind of settles down a little bit after the first round. But that first round, everybody is all in.
With Wendell Clark, you referenced Tom Wilson and that Habs series where he and Josh Anderson, Game 3, ended up in the bench. Do you ever experience anything like that where you drag someone in or you got dragged into the bench?
Let me guess, yes.
No, I'll say what happened, and it ruined it for the rest of my career because I had to fight him all the time. My first 2 fights in the NHL were Marty McSorley. So that and the first fight ever was in Edmonton, and his gate happened to open. So I fall on top of Marty. It's not like I won the fight. I just had the gate opened. I fall on top of Marty in his bench in front of his buddies. So that pretty much set the tone for another 15 years. Because he's the league tough guy and I'm some 18-year-old, and just by fate the door opened, and in a fight in hockey, if you end up on top, you won.
Yeah,
that's kind of how it was. And then we had experiences the rest of my career. Probably because of that. He was the league tough guy at that time.
That's incredible. I don't remember ever seeing that video or
hearing
about
that.
Well,
Not many TV games in exhibition in September in the 80s.
That's very valid. I don't remember full panels for those type of games.
I just remember having a front row seat to you fighting Marty in L.A. the one night
that's right.
When we were with the Islanders. And now they had handed us a pretty good beating that night. I think it was 8-3, but you fought him maybe once or twice. It was 2 of the greatest fights I'd ever witnessed.
Yeah, that was twice that night because it was the first start of the game and he kicked my butt at the front of the net, and then we were losing really bad in the third, and I skated right at him. I said, "We're having another one," and and so, but yeah, no, Marty and I battled, and usually being a left winger that finishes checks, if you're playing against the right D, that's a rivalry you'll have your whole career. Bob Rouse was another guy, started in Minnesota. Battle just because you're battling all the time where the puck goes in.
Absolutely. With Wendell Clark ahead of Game 6 tonight. Now, at the end of your career, Wendell, you were a part of the inaugural Battle of Ontario back in 2000. Do you remember that vividly? And did you think it would reach this point 25 years later, where it holds such esteem, especially with Leaf fans?
Yeah, no, I think it's great that both teams are in the playoffs, Toronto and Ottawa. I think it's great for rivalry. The rivalries start because the teams playing each other in the playoffs a lot, and then there gets to be a hatred between cities and fans and the teams, and that's what makes the hockey fun. So yeah, I was at the start of that I think it might have been my last goal ever in a playoff game, Game 4. Or the Game 4 that we won, or they won the 4th game there in Ottawa. I can't remember what one that was, but I was just a piece player signing at the end of my career, and the guys, Cabby, I think was a rookie, and Nicky Antropov, and those guys were just starting out, and great group of young guys, and they had a great run against Ottawa, 4 times in a row in the playoffs there, and Ottawa had great teams, and the Toronto always found a way to upset them, but the rivalries are always good. They're the fun ones. It's the fans that give the players energy. They're the fun ones to be in.
With Wendell Clark. And Wendell, we've had you on a bunch in the past to speak of this. Novartis and Pros Talk Prostate. This partnership in collaboration with other NHL players aims to raise awareness about prostate health and encourage Canadians to seek necessary checkups and information. Wendell, you've been a part of this. Clearly it's something important to you. Take us through this, why you get involved and why it's so important.
Yeah, no, just it's we all have friends and family that have been dealt with it or dealing with it, and really you're at a stage. I think it's the third leading cause for men of the cancer. So really, we want people making sure they're getting checked and get checked early. But if you do have prostate cancer, we want you to let you know that there's a spot to go and check, and it's prostationcanada.ca, and download a pamphlet and get all the information you can to be able to open up and talk to friends and family, and questions to ask your doctors to make sure you know how to handle stuff. We as guys, we always get very quiet amongst all this stuff. Our doctor visits are usually about 10 seconds, and that's all we want them for. So it's something about we're only here once, so look after yourself and make sure the people or the guys with prostate cancer are looking after themselves.
Absolutely. Prostationcanada.ca. That's the website to get to. He is the great Wendell Clark. We always appreciate you finding time for us, Wendell. Enjoy the game tonight.
Thanks. You too, guys.
Thanks, Wendell.
Good talk.
You got
Thanks,
it. There he is, Wendell Clark. Clark will be doing the golf routine pretty soon, I would think. Man, is he popular? He goes to tournaments and talk about creating a buzz.
Oh, yeah.
When Wendell's around, it's
have you golfed with him at all? Is he?
I have, yeah. Played with Wendell. Yeah, he can crush a golf ball.
Hammer a golf ball.
He hammers the golf ball.
He's got that farmer Saskatchewan barrel chest like strength. Like Kelly Chase. Like they just have that like mean. I guarantee you, it's a mean swing or something.
That's exactly. It's all upper body, and he just destroys golf balls.
It's like he gets a hate on for that golf ball right before impact. Like he's falling on top of Marty McSorley right before impact.
I've never heard that story. I've never heard that. And
someone's got a clip of that somewhere.
Yes.
You mean that where the exhibition game and he had to fight him, like he fell on top of him?
Fell like through the boards, and you know McSorley would have been so pissed off. Exactly. Probably at his own players for opening the door, why the door was open. It fell into his bench.
Yeah.
But I love that. McSorley blames Wendell because the door's open.
Some trainer pops it open and they fall through it. Yeah. And he's got to fight the guy 15 years in a row.
For 15 years we have to fight.
That McSorley was a serious dude, too.
He was so tough.
Didn't Pat tell us a hilarious story where he was like, I got Stan Mikita 10 years after.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was like 13 years later. Mikita had high-sticked him and like in the minors in 1962 or something. And 13 years later, he caught him like coming across the middle. And he's like, I got you, Stan.
Like, on an off day for fun, we just got to get into the Pat Bobby Orr hit. Do you remember when he hits it? There were fans punching him.
Over the top, punching him. Punching him over the glass. They had the police escort him out of Boston, I believe.
It's still insane.
Police escort out of Boston.
You look back, and I know safety and all of that. The game's changed so much. Yeah. I love that the netting is there. I love that. But you remember, like, the glass used to be so short. Fans would be leaning over the glass. Like, it's insane.
You know what's weird is, like, the other night, there were 3 or 4 pucks that got into the seats. And that you very rarely see that. Like they'll sneak through over the bench. There's certain areas where the netting isn't there, but you'll go game. I'm sure, Noodles, you're in the rink a ton. You'll go weeks without seeing a puck get into the stands.
Yeah,
and there were like four or 5 pucks, and then people are scrambling because that was a big thing about going to a game as a kid. You'd be like, it's like a baseball. I might get a puck especially with the rules were different where you could just dump it over the glass.
If you're a stay-at-home defenseman, you could chip it over to get the glass. You were
getting cycled to death. You would just dump it right over the glass, like not even think twice.
I will say that rule really
I love
did
it. I think
change.
It's a great rule.
It did change the game a lot. Yeah, no, I understand. I just think it changed the game a lot because it forces you to try and play instead of just firing it and hitting the mascot type of thing.
Yeah. Oh, we need to change over the glass. Thank you. It's like, no, you got to play, man. You got to play. I know that not everyone loves that rule. I still love that rule. I think it works. All right, Darren Pang will be in Ottawa tonight. Panger's coming up, probably rinkside ahead of the game tonight. We'll get to that. We'll get to the other games in the Stanley Cup playoffs. We'll get into what happened in Winnipeg last night as well. And
Monty's enemy number 1 in the big.
We'll come.
I want your opinion on this.
We'll come back and play it. We'll get into it. All right. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, Darren Pang coming up. Jonas Siegel from the rink tonight. Both guys will be there. We've got Leafs Sens Game 6 right here on TSN Radio tonight. Winnipeg got themselves a win, and I thought Winnipeg, they played really well last night, clearly.
Yeah.
And with a cost.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you guys about. And there's a lot of people pissed off, and rightfully so, in Winnipeg. But, I mean, Scheifele was shoulder checking as well, too. Like, I wanted when you pull a puck off he's looking over his right shoulder. Should you be looking there? Like, that's just a technical thing, Like, that's a tough spot to put himself in, too, right? Or is it just the game too fast?
Got him, man.
Pretty late hit, isn't it? I mean...
that was the big debate, too, where you're trying to remove emotion. Like, you should be pissed in Winnipeg because he's been targeted and he's been hit hard and he's not available for tomorrow's game, which sucks. But he was watching the puck a little bit because Parayko was pinching down on him. and you see him take a little shoulder check, and Schen's waiting for him, man. Like, that just is.
Yeah, I think you're obviously in that position. I always used to like to take a peek because, as Wendell mentioned, right winger. I was a right winger, left defenseman. There was some monsters back there like Scott Stevens. So it's like you just got to check off some business before you're doing anything like that.
Exactly.
And you did see a glance there, but he probably thought Braden Schenn and his distance away, he might not get him. But it was a late hit. I don't think anybody can argue that was a late hit. Was it not a late hit?
I think it was. I think what separates it from the Hagel on Barkov hit was Barkov couldn't possibly know he was coming to get him. Where I think what you're arguing, Noodles, is Scheifele, if he just looks forward and up, he could have braced for it.
Like, I think he was looking behind, and Schenn was kind of come from his left side. Again, I'm not defending the
no
hit.
suspensions are coming. Nothing's happening.
I'm just more. I'm disappointed for him because they need him, and he's a beast. And it was a massive hit, and then the Vasca hit was just a hard hit through the middle of the ice. Like, and our boy Jimmy, we got to get into it.
We'll play it to start the next hour because it is wild.
Monty.
Like Jim Montgomery, he almost had a PowerPoint last night. He's like, slide one, this is the Schenn hit, and then here's the shifts in between. And the two most Canadian sounding guys ever too, like Scott O'Neill, he sounded so Canadian in his reaction. I love that. We'll play it. We'll get into it. Darren Payne coming up. And, of course, we've got Game 6 tonight. We're chugging towards Leafs Sens this evening. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.